The scene opens in a cramped, dimly lit community hall, its walls plastered with faded posters of past events and peeling paint that speaks of years gone by. A small crowd gathers around a makeshift stage where several individuals stand confidently, speaking passionately into a creaky microphone. Their voices are loud, animated, commanding attention from the audience. Among them, Rebel sits quietly near the back, her arms crossed, eyes darting nervously between the speakers and the door. The murmurs of the crowd swell and fade like waves, but Rebel remains silent, almost invisible amidst the clamoring voices. Nearby, an older woman with sharp eyes and a warm smile watches Rebel closely. She leans in and gently places a hand on Rebel's shoulder, breaking through the youthful girl's guarded silence. "Why don't you say something?" the woman asks softly, her voice a soothing contrast to the raucous energy on stage. "You've got a fire in you. I see it. But you're hiding it away, like a secret no one's supposed to know." Rebel shrinks slightly under the touch, but doesn't pull away. Her lips twitch, almost on the verge of forming words, but the words never come. Instead, she shrugs and looks down at her worn sneakers, the laces frayed and dirty. "I'm no one," she mutters. "Who'd listen to me? Everyone else is so sure of themselves. They know what they want, who they are. Me? I don't know." The woman nods knowingly, as if she's heard this story before. "That's exactly why you need to speak. Because your voice isn't like theirs. It's yours. And it's waiting to be heard." Rebel glances up, her eyes searching the woman's face for something: approval, encouragement, and for a moment, the noise of the room fades. The confident speakers on the stage laugh and shout, but Rebel's focus sharpens on the woman's steady gaze. "Come on," the woman says, tugging lightly on Rebel's sleeve. "Let me show you." The hall buzzes louder as the next speaker takes the stage, a tall, charismatic young man who commands the crowd with ease. His words roll over the audience like thunder, calls for change, defiance, revolution. The crowd hangs on every syllable. Rebel watches, entranced but distant, her thoughts swirling with doubt and fear. The woman leads Rebel to the edge of the crowd, close enough to feel the heat of the spotlight, but just far enough to remain in the shadows. "You see how they speak?" she asks. "They shout to be heard over the noise. But sometimes, the most powerful voices are the quiet ones, those that catch you when you least expect it." Rebel nods slowly, but the knot in her chest tightens. "I don't know how to be like that. I don't know if I can." The woman smiles, a deep, knowing smile that seems to reach into the depths of Rebel's uncertainty. "You don't have to be like them. You just have to be yourself. Speak from where you are, not where you think you should be." A pause. Rebel breathes in, the stale air of the hall filling her lungs. She swallows hard and glances toward the stage again, where another speaker is gesturing wildly, rallying the crowd's energy. The noise is deafening, the pressure mounting. But then something shifts. Rebel's eyes harden, resolve flickering across her face like a spark catching dry tinder. The woman squeezes her shoulder and steps back, giving her space. Rebel stands, her movements shaky but determined. She steps forward, hesitates, then steps again, drawing closer to the microphone. The chatter in the room quiets, the audience sensing a change but uncertain what it will bring. She grips the microphone, feeling its cold metal against her palm, and for a moment, the world holds its breath. Her voice is barely a whisper at first, trembling and fragile. I've been quiet for a long time," she says, eyes scanning the crowd, meeting curious and skeptical gazes alike. "I thought maybe if I stayed silent, no one would notice me. But maybe that's the problem, not that I'm quiet, but that I'm afraid to be heard." A murmur ripples through the audience, some shifting in their seats, others leaning in. Rebel's voice grows stronger, steadier as she continues. "I don't have all the answers like the others do. I'm not sure what my place is or what I'm supposed to say. But I know this. I'm tired of feeling invisible. Tired of pretending that I don't matter." The woman from before watches proudly from the side, a faint tear glistening in her eye. The crowd's energy shifts, the tension breaking like a dam. Rebel's words resonate not because they are perfect, but because they are real. One of the confident speakers from earlier steps down, nodding in approval. That's the kind of honesty we need, he says, voice loud and clear. Sometimes, the strongest voice isn't the loudest, it's the one that speaks from the heart. Rebel's cheeks flush with a mix of embarrassment and pride. She steps back from the microphone, heart pounding in her chest, but something inside her has changed. The silence that once wrapped around her like a shroud begins to unravel. The scene shifts slightly as Rebel sits back down, the crowd's chatter now a hum of encouragement and newfound respect. The woman leans in once more. You see? That wasn't so bad, she says softly. You're not invisible anymore. You've started something. Rebel nods slowly, a tentative smile breaking through. Maybe I do have a voice after all. The camera pulls back to show the entire hall, the buzz of conversations, the mix of old and young faces, some skeptical, some inspired. Rebel sits among them, no longer just a quiet observer, but a spark of something new, a voice waiting to grow louder. The scene ends with Rebel's eyes fixed on the stage, where another speaker begins to rise, but this time, Rebel is ready. The journey of finding her voice has begun. The scene opens the following evening in a small, cluttered living room illuminated by the weak glow of a single lamp. Rebel sits at a rickety wooden table, a notebook open in front of her, pages filled with scribbled thoughts and half-formed sentences. Around her, the atmosphere is tense. Her mother, father, and older brother sit nearby, their faces a mixture of concern, skepticism, and impatience. Rebel's mother breaks the silence first, her voice sharp and cutting through the thick air. Why are you wasting your time with all this talking? You think your little speeches will change anything? We have real problems, jobs to keep, bills to pay. Nobody's interested in your dreams. Rebel's fingers tighten around the pen. She looks up, eyes flickering with a flicker of defiance, but her voice remains soft. I'm not trying to change the world overnight. I just want to be heard. Isn't that worth something? Her father snorts dismissively. Heard? By who? A bunch of strangers? You think they care about what you have to say? You're just a kid chasing shadows. Her older brother leans forward, arms crossed, his tone more mocking than angry. Maybe you should just stop embarrassing yourself. Everyone's laughing behind your back. Even your friends. You're making a fool of yourself. Rebel's eyes dart to the door. The room feels smaller, the walls closing in. She bites her lip, fighting back the sting of tears and the urge to flee. Her notebook lies open, a silent witness to her dreams and fears. Later, the scene shifts to a crowded school hallway, lockers slamming, students laughing and jostling past each other. Rebel walks through the chaos, her head down, clutching the notebook to her chest like a shield. A group of classmates spots her and breaks into snickers. Hey, Rebel. Got another speech ready? Or just more whining? Yeah. Why don't you just shut up already? Nobody cares what you think. One of her so-called friends, a girl named Tara, approaches hesitantly. Look, Rebel. I don't want to be mean, but maybe you should stop trying so hard. It's like you're begging for attention. Rebel stops, swallowing hard. Her voice cracks as she replies, I'm not begging. I'm trying to find my place. Tara shrugs, unconvinced, and walks away, leaving Rebel alone amid the sneers and laughter. The scene cuts to a quiet corner of the school library where Rebel sits, her face flushed and eyes red-rimmed. She flips through her notebook, rereading her earlier words, searching for strength. The silence is broken by a soft voice. Hey! Rebel looks up to see a boy, a classmate named Jonah, standing nearby with a tentative smile. He carries a stack of books, but pauses to offer her a small, encouraging nod. You've got guts, you know that, he says quietly. Most people wouldn't have the nerve to get up there and speak like that. Rebel shrugs, skepticism creeping back. Doesn't mean they like it. Jonah nods in understanding. True. But sometimes, you have to be the one who's willing to be different. To stand out. Maybe even to be misunderstood. Rebel studies him, surprised by his sincerity. How do you do it? He shrugs. I guess I just stopped caring what people think. Took me a while, though. They share a brief, genuine smile before Jonah moves on, leaving Rebel alone with her thoughts once more. The next day, Rebel returns to the community hall where the previous gathering took place. The room is buzzing again, but this time, the energy feels different. Some faces are friendly, others skeptical. Rebel steps up to the microphone, her voice stronger, but still edged with uncertainty. "I know some of you don't believe in me," she begins, scanning the crowd. "Some think I'm wasting my time. But I'm not going to stop. Not because I'm brave, but because I have to be. Because staying silent is worse." A few people nod, others murmur. The woman who first encouraged her appears in the crowd, her smile unwavering. As Rebel speaks, the camera pans across the room, capturing a mix of reactions: dismissal, curiosity, even a hint of admiration. Yet, despite the small victories, there's an unmistakable undercurrent of resistance. Later, Rebel finds herself alone in a narrow alley, the night air cool against her skin. She pulls her jacket tighter and looks up at the stars, her breath visible in the chilly air. Her phone buzzes. A message from Tara. "Don't do this anymore. It's not worth it." Rebel stares at the screen, the words hanging heavy. She types back slowly, "Maybe not. But I can't stop now." The scene shifts back to the community hall, where Rebel's mentor approaches her. "You're stirring the pot," the mentor warns gently. "People don't like to be challenged. They'll try to tear you down." Rebel nods, resolve hardening. "Then I'll just have to be stronger." The mentor smiles, a mix of pride and concern. "Just remember, the hardest battles are the ones worth fighting." The scene fades with Rebel standing alone on the stage, the microphone in her hand, the crowd's murmurs rising and falling like a tide. Her voice may still falter, her confidence still growing, but the spark has ignited, a quiet rebellion against doubt and dismissal. The camera lingers on her determined expression, capturing the fragile yet fierce beginning of a journey to break free from expectations and find her true voice amidst the noise. The scene opens in the packed community hall once more, the air thick with anticipation and the murmurs of a restless crowd. Rebel stands behind the microphone, her hands trembling slightly, the weight of every skeptical glance pressing down on her like a physical force. The spotlight, harsh and unyielding, casts long shadows across her determined face. This is the moment she has been wrestling toward, her chance to speak not just words, but truth. The room quiets as she inhales deeply, steadying herself. Her voice starts low, almost hesitant. "I've been silent for too long," she begins, eyes sweeping over the crowd, meeting the wary gazes of familiar faces. "Not because I didn't have things to say, but because I was afraid. Afraid that I wasn't enough, that my voice didn't matter." A ripple moves through the audience, a subtle shift that feels like the first crack in a wall. Rebel's confidence grows, her words gaining strength. "But I've realized something. Silence can be its own kind of prison. When we don't speak, when we let fear keep us quiet, we're complicit in the stories others tell about us. I'm here to tell my story, not because it's perfect, but because it's real." She pauses as the room holds its breath, the tension palpable. A few faces soften, the skepticism flickering into something more open, more curious. Rebel continues, voice steady now, clear and unwavering. "I'm not here to tell you I have all the answers. I'm not a leader or a hero. I'm just someone who's tired of being invisible, tired of watching others shape the world while I stay on the sidelines. If I'm brave enough to stand here today, then maybe you can find that courage too." The crowd shifts, some nodding, others whispering among themselves. The woman who first encouraged Rebel catches her eye and offers a proud smile. Rebel's chest swells with a mixture of relief and newfound strength. Suddenly, from the back of the room, a voice calls out, a man known for his harsh criticism of the gatherings. "What makes you think your voice will change anything? You're just a kid with big ideas and no experience." The room stiffens, tension snapping back like a taut wire. Rebel's eyes flash, her resolve tested but unbroken. She steps forward, meeting the challenge head-on. "Because change begins with someone willing to speak," she says firmly. "Experience doesn't come from age alone, it comes from courage, from honesty, from the willingness to be vulnerable. I may be young, but I'm not powerless. A murmur of approval rises, a few people clapping tentatively. The critic glares but says nothing more. Rebel's voice softens, becoming almost intimate as she shares a personal revelation. For years, I thought my silence was protecting me, but it only kept me trapped. I want you to know that it's okay to be uncertain, to stumble, to not have it all figured out. That's the truth of being human. And speaking that truth, that's how we start to heal. The crowd's energy shifts palpably. The air is alive with a mixture of empathy and inspiration. Rebel's words seem to reach beyond the walls of the hall, touching something deep within the listeners. The woman beside Rebel steps forward, standing in solidarity. She's right, she says softly. We've all been afraid to speak. But it's in our shared stories, our shared struggles, that we find strength. A young man in the front row wipes his eyes, quietly moved. A middle-aged woman nods thoughtfully, clutching a worn jacket as if drawing courage from Rebel's words. Rebel surveys the room, feeling the weight of their gazes, the fragile connection forming between speaker and audience. She knows this moment won't erase all doubt or fear, but it has cracked open a door. As she steps back from the microphone, a hand reaches out to squeeze her shoulder gently. It's Jonah, the classmate who had quietly supported her before. You did it, he says quietly. You found your voice. Rebel smiles, a genuine, radiant smile that carries the promise of growth and change. Not just mine, she replies. Ours. The scene transitions to Rebel walking home through the quiet streets, the night air cool and calm. Her steps are lighter, her breath visible in the crisp air. She pulls her jacket tighter around her and glances up at the stars. Her phone buzzes with a message from Tara, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Keep going. Rebel stares at the screen, her heart swelling with a mix of relief and hope. She types back slowly, thank you. The camera lingers on her thoughtful expression before shifting to the horizon, where the first light of dawn begins to soften the darkness. The scene closes with Rebel standing at the edge of the neighborhood, looking out toward the future, ready to continue her journey, no longer silenced, but speaking her truth boldly into the world. The scene opens in the same crowded community hall, but the atmosphere has shifted. Where there was once warmth and tentative acceptance, now there's a brittle tension hanging in the air like an approaching storm. Rebel stands near the edge of the room, her arms crossed tightly over her chest, watching as a group of murmuring voices circle around her. A woman from the crowd, sharp-eyed and skeptical, steps forward. You think you're some kind of hero now, don't you? She says, voice dripping with sarcasm. Speaking your truth like it's some grand revelation. But what about reality? People have bills, jobs, problems that don't get fixed with speeches. The crowd stirs, some nodding in agreement, others whispering doubts. Rebel's jaw tightens, but she doesn't respond immediately. The woman presses on, louder now. You're stirring up trouble, making people uncomfortable. Some of us want peace, not drama. A few voices chime in, echoing criticism and disapproval. Someone whispers, she's just looking for attention. Another says, this isn't the place for her kind of talk. Rebel's mentor approaches quietly, placing a steadying hand on her shoulder. Ignore the noise, the mentor says softly. This is the backlash. It happens to everyone who dares to speak out. Rebel exhales slowly, trying to steady the storm swirling inside her. She steps forward, raising her voice to address the crowd. I'm not here to cause drama, she says calmly but firmly. I'm here because silence isn't an option anymore. If speaking up makes some uncomfortable, maybe that discomfort is necessary. A murmur ripples through the room, some faces softening while others harden in resistance. Suddenly, a man from the back yells out, why should we listen to you? You don't know what it's like to struggle. Rebel meets his gaze without flinching. Maybe I don't know everything, but I know what it's like to feel invisible. To be told your voice doesn't matter. That's enough for me to speak. The room quiets, tension hanging thick. Then, unexpectedly, a young woman stands beside Rebel, stepping into the light. I believe her, she says quietly. Her words made me think. Maybe we all need to rethink what we've been told. Others begin to nod, some hesitant, others more certain. Small pockets of support ripple through the crowd. Rebel turns to the woman, gratitude shining in her eyes. Thank you. As the crowd's mood shifts, Rebel's confidence grows. Yet, the sting of earlier hostility lingers, a reminder that the road ahead won't be easy. Later, Rebel walks outside into the chilly night, the distant sounds of the city buzzing around her. Her phone vibrates with a message from Tara, asterisk, people are talking. Not all of it good. Be careful. Asterisk. Rebel reads the warning, her expression thoughtful but resolute. She types back, asterisk, I have to keep going. Asterisk. The scene shifts to Rebel sitting alone at a small cafe table, nursing a cup of coffee as she watches the door. Jonah arrives, sliding into the seat opposite her. You okay? He asks gently. Rebel shrugs. It's harder than I thought. Some days, I wonder if it's worth it. Jonah nods knowingly. It always is. The people who resist change the loudest are often the ones who need it most. Rebel smiles faintly. I just wish it didn't feel so lonely sometimes. Jonah reaches across the table, offering a reassuring squeeze of her hand. You're not alone. Not anymore. The camera pulls back to reveal other faces in the cafe, some watching quietly, others engrossed in their own lives. But for Rebel, the small circle of support feels like a lifeline. The scene closes with Rebel stepping out into the night, her breath visible in the cold air, her steps purposeful despite the weight of doubt and opposition. The journey is far from over, but she stands stronger, bolstered by allies and the flickering hope that her voice might yet inspire change. The scene opens on a bright morning in the community park, where a modest crowd has gathered around a small stage decorated with colorful banners and handmade signs. The air is crisp, filled with the mingled scents of fresh grass and brewing coffee from a nearby vendor. Rebel stands at the center of the stage, her posture confident, her gaze steady as she surveys the faces before her friends, strangers, and even some skeptics who have come to listen. A hush falls over the crowd as Rebel steps up to the microphone. Her voice rings clear and unwavering. I used to think that silence was my only refuge, that speaking out would only bring trouble, ridicule, or worse, being ignored. She pauses, scanning the sea of faces, catching the eyes of those who have journeyed alongside her. But I've learned something important. My voice isn't just mine alone. It belongs to every person who's ever felt invisible, unheard, or powerless. The crowd responds with quiet nods and soft murmurs of agreement. Rebel's smile widens, emboldened by their presence. I'm not perfect, she continues, and I don't have all the answers. There were times when I doubted myself, when the criticism stung and the loneliness pressed in. But I kept going because I realized that finding my voice wasn't just about me. It was about standing up for those who couldn't. About creating a space where we all could be heard. A ripple of applause breaks out, growing steadily until it fills the park with a vibrant energy. Rebel's mentor steps forward, her eyes shining with pride as she joins the applause. Rebel lowers the microphone, her heart pounding with a mixture of relief and exhilaration. She looks out at the crowd, feeling the invisible threads of connection weaving between them. Among the listeners, Tara catches her eye and offers a tentative smile, a silent acknowledgement of the growth and change that have unfolded. Jonah stands nearby, clapping with quiet enthusiasm. He catches Rebel's gaze and gives a thumbs up, a small gesture loaded with meaning. As the applause dies down, Rebel speaks again, softer this time but no less powerful. This is only the beginning. There will still be challenges, and there will still be those who resist. But together, we can face them. Together, we can build a community where every voice matters. The crowd erupts once more, some people standing to cheer, others wiping away tears. Rebel's chest swells with a deep, fulfilling sense of purpose. The scene shifts to later in the day, where Rebel sits on a bench beneath a sprawling oak tree, the sun filtering through the leaves in golden shafts. Around her, people linger, some chatting quietly, others deep in thought. Rebel's notebook lies open on her lap, but instead of words, her fingers rest lightly on the pages, the weight of the moment grounding her. Her mother approaches hesitantly, carrying a small paper cup of coffee. She sits beside Rebel without a word, offering the cup with a tentative smile. Rebel looks up, surprise flickering across her face. "Thanks," she says softly. Her mother nods, eyes searching Rebel's face. "I was wrong to doubt you. I see now how much this means to you. And maybe it means something to all of us." Rebel's smile is tentative but genuine. "It means everything," she replies. The camera pulls back slowly, capturing the quiet scene, the mother and daughter sitting side by side, the sun casting a warm glow over their shared moment. As evening falls, Rebel walks home through familiar streets, the city lights twinkling like distant stars. Her steps are steady, her shoulders no longer burdened by doubt but lifted by conviction. A text message pings on her phone, "proud of you. Keep shining." It's from her mentor. Rebel types back simply, "I will." The scene closes with Rebel pausing on a hill overlooking the city, the skyline glowing beneath a twilight sky. She breathes deeply, the cool night air filling her lungs, a soft smile touching her lips. Her voice, steady and clear, echoes softly as a voiceover. "Finding my voice was just the beginning. Now I have a story to tell and a world to change." If you loved the story, like the video and subscribe.